Today is August 29th. That was the most embarrassing series of the season. In the midst of all the Cruz position change stuff, the bullpen gives us a reason to stop thinking about it. It's Late Night Buck, and you're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast.
I'm bummed out. Yeah.
Dang it, Bobby. This is fine.
All of them right off the rip.
Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh. I'm joined as always by my brother Jake, and
this is fine.
this is going to be a fun one.
So before we get started, PNC Park has the best view in baseball.
Okay, so we're getting right out of the gate, guys. Jake was just in San Francisco and Oakland. He's back from his trip. Welcome back, Jake. Perfect episode to come back.
Yeah, right.
And I'm glad you had your whale watching and all your trips.
Well, Lottie frickin' da!
That's funny. You got jokes. I like it.
All right, man. Tell me about what is it? Is it AT&T?
Oracle.
Oracle now. They change
It
the
was
name every
AT&T.
5 years. You know what I mean?
When it opened, it was AT&T, I do believe.
Okay.
But it's Oracle. And while it was a nice stadium for sure, I did escape from Alcatraz. I did go check it out for sure. And if you like that kind of stuff, 100% worth the trip. If you don't love stuff like that, it's an old building that's falling apart. So that being said, I loved it. My wife loved it. We had a blast. They actually shut all the jail cell doors at 9:00. Like I didn't realize that they did that, so I kind of missed it. But cool. Just little stuff like that. It's interesting.
Sure.
But no, so Oracle Park sits on McCovey Cove. Didn't realize how small McCovey Cove was. It's
Okay.
just a very little inlet right beside the stadium. When you're sitting in the stadium and you're looking out, you don't really notice it at the end of it because you see beyond it. But if you're sitting in the lower levels, you see the sky.
Yeah.
We were in the 300 seats to start the game, and we sat there for about the first 4 or 5 innings. Then we went to get something to eat. People got up to leave. We're like, sure. And we popped down to one of the lower bowl seats. There's just nothing special about it when you're sitting there. The glove's cool. The glove and the Coke bottle's cool.
It's crazy because it's like it's always number one with PNC number 2, and we're,
I think I just had it. I had my expectations a little higher.
yeah.
I was telling you on the phone, I think I put PNC's my number 1, Camden Yards, Petco Park are all above it, in my opinion.
Mm.
But Oakland's a dump.
Bucko Mike, Alcatraz, the Pirates Dominican facility.
Listen, there's a field there
There is,
in the yard.
yeah.
I mean, it's only the infield. The rest is concrete. But hey, get what you can take.
Well,
Take
we're
what
glad
you
to
can
have
get.
you back. We're glad to have you back. Yeah, no one makes it out. Doug says no one makes it out of the. I guess what better time than you guys bringing this up? Pirates' first move of, I guess you can say the offseason is letting their director of international scouting and all that go. First of how many that are going to be gone. We're actually not going to get into that tonight. We're really going to go deep into. First, we're going to complain about the series that just existed, and then we're going to go into Oneil Cruz and talk about the position switch and all the things around that. Stick around, guys. We are going to watch video of every single error. stick around because it's worth it. It's worth it to get a visual on him in hindsight. Okay.
Yeah.
So stick around. But first thing, let's do this real quick, right? They put out some injury updates. Hunter Stratton's done. 7 to 10 months. It's a patella tendon rupture. Terrible, terrible thing to watch. Marco Gonzalez, surgery to repair a flexor tendon in his left elbow. 9 to 12 months. He's done. He's not a Pirate anymore. Cheryl says that will take a while. It's you'd think so, but we'll get through it. Dalton Jeffrey, who cares? Colin Holderman, Ryan Barucki still continuing. They pitched the other day. Braxton Ashcraft threw a live BP. That's actually good. Anticipated to return to action later this week, which maybe is, I don't know if he pitched today, if he pitched, I don't know. Moretta and Oviedo continue to make strides. It's the first time I've heard anything from them, really. Oviedo's throwing up to 105 feet.
Nice.
So, very good. Joey Bart in the early phase of his rehab. Andy Rodriguez is playing games as a DH in the Florida Complex League. Hitting from both sides of the plate as well. Promising. They hope to get him some catching reps later this month. Which seems right because he said that he was coming back this year.
Yeah.
So I guess that's there. They're still learning more on Key Brian Hayes' back injury. No timetable, as Bucko Mike says. He's out for the season.
Yeah.
Now, he's also saying herniated disc. Is that something that's new that came out that I missed? I was at the softball field this evening. So I don't know if there was something new that came out or not. I see Termar Johnson already hit a bomb in Double-A.
412 feet.
So hopefully that's good. Bubba Chandler's still dealing in Indy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. I think we're done with the goods. Cheryl says we need Joey Bart back. Well, that's probably going to come up at some point. So we have a problem at catcher, but we'll get there. we have a problem at catcher. It's smaller than what it has been. I'll say that. Smaller than what it has been. Jake, let's talk about what just happened in Pittsburgh this week. The Chicago Cubs came in. Okay, let me set it up this way, right? The Pirates scored 23 runs in this series, which is the most of any other 3-game series this season. 23 runs. 20 was the previous high. They won 2 out of 3 the time they scored 20 runs. They've scored 18 runs several times in 3 games, but 23 runs and you got swept.
Yeah, the word of the series is embarrassing. I mean, it was bad. It was legitimately, it wasn't even there's just, bad doesn't describe it. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
Top to bottom. Like, obviously our hitters were fine. I mean, they did their job. They scored a ton of runs.
Yeah. I don't have the box scores up because I intentionally said I'm not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because there are still some numbers with runners in scoring position where it's not great, right? But you can't complain when you're averaging over 7 runs a game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to complain about the offense when you're scoring that many runs. And really, I mean, especially the third game, those 10 runs came with a lead. It's not like it was like, well, because there was one game where it was like you were winning by so much that the pitcher went out there and said, I'm not going to waste bullets here. We're throwing fastballs. And so the Pirates put a few runs on him and made him work a little bit. So like you could say, well, they were given a little bit of leeway in that game. They got a couple cheap runs. If you wanted to, you could say that. However, even if you do, like they still came out in game 3. They give Skeens a lead when Skeens really didn't look that great. I will note this is the 3rd time he's faced the Cubs.
Yeah.
He is a rookie, even though the way he pitches makes us believe he's not sometimes. He is a rookie. He's got things to learn. There are going to be people that are going to get a book on him, and they're going to change some approaches. I think that, for the most part, those runs were legit runs scored against him.
Yeah.
I know only 2 of them ended up being earned. I might actually disagree with that, but it's neither here nor there. Well, maybe not. That run probably doesn't score, actually, not in hindsight. So 2 earned runs, but he wasn't great. You know what I mean? He wasn't what we've seen from him. And so taking him out in the 5th inning, I've got no problem with it. You had 7-run lead.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're watching his innings.
They're trying to watch his innings. They're trying to watch his workload, especially
now. Like our season's in the tank.
Well,
you know what I mean? I mean,
even with that though, even in a game where you have a 7-run lead is the time that you do it.
Yeah.
When you've got Nicholas lined up, you've got Chapman lined up, and you think you can get through the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th with those 2 guys combined. And I had some people saying, well, you can't count on Nicholas for 2 innings. And I said, why can't you? I'm going to try to find it here. Excuse me. My goodness, that fruit punch got me good. If I can find it here, I got to be able to find it. Yeah. Kyle Nicholas basically threw, I think, 12 times. I really wish I had the numbers so I don't say something that ends up being wrong. But I believe it's 12 times. Okay, Nicholas was fine in his first inning. Let's say that first, right? He was fine.
Yeah.
He did good, right? He was fine in his first inning. He earned a second inning. We know he can throw 2 innings. He's done it 12 times this season. Of those 12 appearances of multiple innings, 7 of them, or more than an inning, I'll say that, 7 of them were scoreless. And the other 5, he gave up only 1 run. A couple of those are over 2 innings. Okay? Yeah. He's not a stranger to throwing more than an inning, and he absolutely is capable of doing it. He's proven that in the past. Now, he's got some less than an inning outings that were rough, but he's been good.
Yeah.
When he struggled coming into that, he gave up a couple runs. Chapman came in to relieve him, and he threw 4 pitches. 4 pitches. I'm okay with Chapman going back out there. I should expect Chapman, after 4 pitches and an opportunity that we needed to win this game, I am okay with Chapman going back out for a second inning. And then he fell apart, and he's been really good. He's probably your odds-on favorite to take over the closing role, which cannot anymore belong to David Bednar.
Yeah, I mean, I keep thinking about it. I'm like, wow, what's the point moving him now? Because he very well could be your closer next year. He's a stud. He's just having a rough year, and the season's in the bag. So, or I should say, in the tank, not the bag. But the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm fine if you just put him in the 6th inning instead. Take a little bit of pressure off whatever. I don't want to even say account, because I'm sure he holds himself accountable more than anyone else holds him accountable. And everybody's hard on him right now. But he's probably harder on himself.
Yeah, I guess that's, for me, that's fine. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. You're saying, like, I don't want to hate the guy because of it. But the idea is, like, does he need moved or not? He needs moved. And it doesn't matter if he feels bad about it. It doesn't matter if the fan base is mad at him. It doesn't matter. What probably should have happened was he should have never started there. We talked about that at the beginning of the year. He didn't have a spring training. He should have been pitching in the 6th inning to work up to that point.
I get that. I 100% agree with that point. But dude saved 19 straight saves.
After he was really bad, though.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah. He settled down, 19 straight games.
Yeah.
So we get that. Then I got to ask you a question, Jake. How effective has David Bednar been, even in his all-star seasons, when it gets close to September? This guy wears down a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's definitely going to do it this year when he didn't even have that full ramp up, spring training, all of those things. So there's just a lot here. I think Sherrod brings up a point here saying the Pen can't overcome setbacks that are not their fault, like an error or a double play not getting turned. This is like, I agree with this. I don't think that it's a pass for them. I think it's a fault of theirs. Like, as a former pitcher, that when things get rough, like, you have to step up and be better. Pick your teammates up. That's why it's a team sport still. You can't just you can't Rich Hill out there and complain about everything and get,
Right.
We don't need to do that. Rob, I feel for you. 4th podcast, Pirates podcast of the day. You're a true champ, dude. You're a true champ. Everybody say hi to Jeff. What's up, Jeff? And he makes a good question. Who has more frustration this year, Reds fans or Pirates fans? The similarities are unreal.
Yeah.
And I think that it just goes in waves. It's going to be, I don't know.
I think the most frustrating part for me with this season is like, we just can't have two things going good at once.
Yeah.
I should say we can't have three. We can't have three things going good at once. Our starting pitching might be good, and our hitters are doing their job, and our bullpen blows it.
Yeah.
Our starting pitchers are doing good, bullpen's doing good, and our hitters can't hit. Like, we cannot put all three things together this year.
Yeah. And that's
at any point in the season.
And that's what this season was supposed to be. It was supposed to be the beginning of seeing those sort of things kind of come together and playing competitive. And I guess it goes back to one of these comments on here. Doug here says, as much as I enjoyed the first 100 games of this season, I've never been more interested to see the kids play, turn the page, and get them some good coaching. And it's kind of one of those things like, for a while, you started seeing all of those things start coming together. That 10-game losing streak and what we saw happen over the course of the, this past, you win 3 of 4 from the Reds and got out, and you only had a 3 of 4, and you only had a run differential of +1.
Yeah.
Because of a blowout. You know what I'm saying? And so even then it wasn't good. And you kind of saw this coming. The Cubs have been hot. I thought with the starting pitching that we had going into that series that maybe we'd be okay. Bad. And Bucko Mike says, Bednar needs shut down to get healthy for 2025. Here's what I want to say about this, because, we always like to try to find some sort of silver lining around that cloud. Somehow we like to try to do it. I think David Bednar is still a good pitcher. He's just not one right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying burn him and bury him in the backyard, right? I'm not saying that we need to just excommunicate, DFA, get rid of him, trade him, whatever you got to do right now. You can't be that fickle to give up on a player that you believe is a good player. You can't do it.
Yeah, and I think that's what, shutting him down for the year.
Right.
To get healthy for 2025, because I don't want to say but you almost know he's going to be back next year, and he's going to be hopefully David Bednar of 2023.
Yeah, you hope this isn't a collapse that's more than just, okay, things did not go his way this season. But like we said, there was a period of time of 19 straight saves. And to go back to what Jeff said about Reds fans and Pirates fans, I had a guy from work message me and say, every time that Diaz comes in the game for Cincinnati, he says, I know the game's blown. And he said, when did you know? Because I knew as soon as he came in. And I'm like, going into that game that he blew against the Pirates, he had saved 17 straight. But you still have this thing in your head where you just don't trust him. And so it's the same thing. Even when Bednar was going good, a lot of the fan base did not trust him. And so I think there's
a lot of those 19, they weren't 100% clean.
No,
you know what I mean?
Right.
He's not been his best this year for sure.
Yeah. Even through the stretch, he was good enough to get it done. But that's not what you expect from David Bednar. This guy's arguably in the past couple of years, one of those like top 5 closers, top 10 closers in the league. Like, he's been that elite until, like Bucko Mike says, until August. And you know what I mean? Then he kind of has a little bit of rough back end. And you know, you wonder if that's part of it. Diaz blew a save tonight too. So, I mean, it's a similar thing, right? Even Diaz was like 17 straight at one point, but like now, you know, they're kind of looking at the same thing. And I think there's a lot of Bednar. I mean, Bednar, just like you said, even the 19 straight, some of them weren't pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, do you go to Bednar in the 9th inning there? He had a 2-run lead into the 9th inning. You've got to go to somebody. You know that, what's his face and the other guy, they pitched yesterday. Like I said, I'm trying to do this without box scores because I didn't want to. The only other guy you were going to go to there in the 9th inning was Jalen Beeks or Domingo Herman. So yeah, I'm going with Bednar.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Now, Bednar maybe should have been the one to throw when Nicholas did. With the 7-run lead in the 6th inning, he should have came out and saying, "Get me the 6th inning." I just don't know. Rob, with all due respect, let's not do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bullpen in general, and like I said, Nicholas and Chapman lately have been so good. And then, you know, you have to be able to rely on these guys. So I'm not even going to Shelton here with this game. I'm just not doing it. You know what I mean? And so, it was just very frustrating.
Yeah.
Very frustrating. And it was just it seemed like the dominoes all the way across just were falling in every way possible. And then Beeks couldn't get anybody out when he came out, and it just compiled on. And there were some things that happened here and there that you just kind of, you know, you're thinking about because of recent things. There were plays that were made on both Tuesday and Wednesday that I kind of wondered about. And I'm going to go ahead and take us into talking Oneil Cruz because we want to get into this stuff. Yeah, this is true, Jeff. Jealous of our Guards fans, our friends who are Guards fans, because Clase is ridiculous. I mean, I've seen conversations recently about whether or not a closer can win a Cy Young. Like, that's how good he is.
Yeah.
The answer is no, in my opinion, but that's all right. So anyway, let's get into Oneil Cruz because this is a wild thing. And Jeff, you're probably thinking something similar about Ellie at the same time. And whether or not he's making his way to center field as well. Initial reaction, Jake, where were you on when you heard the news? You thought, is this the right time? Where were you at there?
Yeah. I mean, it's my exact thoughts. I'm like, whoa, I mean, kind of out of nowhere. You just told me he was our shortstop and he was going to continue to be our shortstop.
Yeah.
I just didn't think, bro, you got a month and a few days left in the season. You're like, we're going to move you to center. Excuse me? Why not give me the off season to do this?
I thought that all of the things that Oneil Cruz was going to say in the next couple days was going to be really interesting.
Oh yeah.
Will he be completely like vocal about being like in the complaint section, right? Would he share his true feelings, which actually I think is where he was at. I think he told us exactly how he felt, but that he planned on being good. So like I felt like that was the route that I was like, man, that one I would like. Yeah, I don't want to see him be a problem. I don't want to see him lie to us.
Yeah, a little opposite than when they put him in left field a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Where he's like, don't care.
Yeah. Almost like he was pouting out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He still disagrees with it. He still kind of said, I still think I'm a shortstop, but this is the team's call and I'm going to go and I'm going to do my best. Or would you rather that? Would you rather Jazz Chisholm to say, okay, that's fine. Whatever you want me to do, I'll go be the best center fielder in the league. Like, I don't want that either.
Right.
You know what I mean?
One of the things he said during the interview, it caught my ear, was the fact that he said that he's gonna get a hold of Tatis,
Yeah.
that he's friends with Tatis,
Yeah.
and he's gonna talk to him and pick his brain about how that transition went and how he kind of did it. And I mean, that was one of the best things that could happen to Tatis.
Well, and that was the thing is when that all kind of happened, I said, like I was in conversations, can we get Fernando Tatis on the phone? The guy ended up with a Gold Glove.
Yeah.
Can we get him on the phone and have him talk to Oneil? So I was really happy to hear that. But I'm gonna tell you, Jake, let's go around San Diego. He could talk to the whole dang team.
Yeah.
They
whole
got
team.
They got Jake Cronenworth at first, former shortstop. They've got Xander Bogaerts at second, former shortstop. They've got a shortstop. They've got Manny Machado at third, former shortstop. They've got Jerkson Profar in left, former shortstop, second baseman, probably barely shortstop. They've got Jackson Merrill in center field, who never played center field in the minor leagues. Not one time. He played 5 games in left, never played center, and he's only played center in the majors. And then you've got Fernando Tatis in right field. The whole dang team is shortstops. This is like your Little League All-Star game where they're like, we're taking a shortstop from every team. We're going to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? They're just, and some of them were like Machado was moved before he got there. Profar was moved before he got there. But the point is they're all former shortstops except for their catcher and their pitchers. I bet half their pitchers were probably shortstops in high school.
Yeah. I don't know if that one counts, but
no, it doesn't.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild. And it's funny. We were talking about this the other day, and you look at their shortstop, he played second for him last year, and Bogaerts played short.
Yeah. So
wild.
Yeah. And it is kind of weird. Cheryl brings up, there's no one in the lower levels they have to play center. I got to be fair with you, Cheryl. I don't think there's anybody in the lower minors that can play short. I'm sorry, she said center. Did I say shortstop?
Yeah.
She said center. Okay, she said, I don't think they have anybody to play shortstop either. You know what I mean? Everybody that they've had that's been a shortstop has been moved to second base because they weren't, you know what I'm saying? So I don't really know. Do I completely disagree with this? I'm still waiting to see how it happens. I don't know. However, I have some questions. I have some questions on whether or not now was the right time. On this podcast a couple of weeks ago, I said that I still thought that I agreed with the team, that I still thought he had a chance to be a good shortstop. I also said, not for long, like he's too big. He's 25. He could probably play it for 2 or 3 more years before they would have to end up moving him. Or if he bulks up too much, he's going to have to move. You know what I'm saying? Like anything like that would happen. I felt like eventually his body and the whole thing, like eventually he's going to move anyway. I don't feel like you had to be in a hurry to do it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I disagree with that. I still think eventually he moves, right? And if you're going to do it for next year, I kind of do like the approach of doing it for a month at the end of the season, so that he can maybe find some things that he does well and find some things that he doesn't do well and have like real game experience to know the difference, right? He made a throw into home in his first game, and we're going to take a look at it in a little bit. 103 miles an hour. Like he's going to be able to do that sort of thing. There's a question of whether he should have thrown that or not. We're going to talk about that kind of stuff because we're going to get into pretty much anything. I've got a couple questions for you too. And kind of think about these questions. I think I got them written here. Think about these a little bit when we break down these plays as well. Why not right field? First off, that's another one. Like, why are we going to center? They kind of answered that. Oh, it's still center of attention, all this stuff. So like, fine. If that's what you have to do, I like the idea of center. I think he's fast enough. I think eventually it's right field, but I also think that the need for the team right now is probably center field, not right field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I get that. And then the other thing is the Padres note. But my, why not earlier? Why not earlier? That's the other thing. Cruz. We've got Henry Davis we threw out into right field. Cole Tucker was thrown out into the outfield back in 2020, just out of whatever. G1 Bays changed positions in the major leagues. Andy Rodriguez, I guess, was earlier. But Jared Triolo thrown at second base, barely played that in the minor leagues. I just feel like they're waiting till they get to the majors and they're doing it. So I don't know. It's kind of all over the place. I wondered if it was like a temporary thing, but then I don't really know. I think that I just question the way that they went about it, really.
Same, and that's kind of what I was at when I was just, why not? Why? And then they got to do the whole thing with Michael A. Taylor where they put him on waivers. And
you know what? That's another thing. Mike Taylor was drafted as a shortstop.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, you have a guy who was drafted as a shortstop who won a Gold Glove in center field, who could probably help Cruz play center field, and you put him on outright waivers instead of Cannon Bay. You know what I mean? Like I would have went there first.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I mean, he's going to be able to catch fly balls. He's going to be able to run some things down. He's going to have a great arm. I actually don't have a whole lot of like worries about him in center field.
Yeah, I mean, it's just learning. He's just got routes to learn, and
he might be the only guy who actually has an opportunity to like rob some guys of home runs on that wall.
Yeah,
it's kind of a higher wall, So I don't know. Bucko Mike says, if Cruz had an outfield coach instead of Brian Reynolds' iPad for fundamentals in the outfield, I would say yes to Cruz in center field. That's a fair point too. He had Michael Taylor out there working with him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that our outfield coach is bad. I don't really know much about him.
Here's the question, Jake. How many good outfielders do we have? Maybe start with that. Maybe it's the players. Maybe there's some coaching. I don't really know. But
I think defensive metrics are hard on Reynolds. I think we've been through that. I don't think he's a bad outfielder.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a great outfielder.
No.
Don't get me I'm not putting him up on this. Like, I just don't think he's a bad outfielder. I think he's just an average left fielder. He's going to make you some plays. He's going to not make you some plays.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's bad.
Reynolds does have some routes that are questionable. As a matter of fact, when we go through these plays from Oneil Cruz, we're going to see a couple of Reynolds, or maybe at least one Reynolds play where you're kind of like, that could have been a lot better. That could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
And so, there is some of that. He's got a great arm though. I think he's definitely passable in the outfield, but Rob brings up a good point here. Where he plays doesn't matter nearly as much as his bat. Continuing to improve. Timing is what I don't get, especially when Oneil Cruz has been on fire at the plate. I just hope that this doesn't change it, and so far it hasn't. Yes, they do have an outfield coach. It's Tarek Brock, right?
Yeah.
Tarek Brock is their outfield coach, so he was out there working with him as well. All right, let's get into it, man. Let's get into this video because essentially this is going to be every error. It's every error that he makes. Stop me, Jake, if you want to break down a play. I've kind of broken this down to a certain group. I put them in groups, so these are not chronological. I put them in different groups. I think the plays themselves might be, or maybe they're in order of how egregious they are. Bucko Mike also brings up a good point to say that left is the hardest to play at PNC. That could be true. It's definitely bigger than everything else. Ryan, what's up? Thanks for stopping in. We're about ready to watch all of the errors by Oneil Cruz this season and see how these go. So these first 5 errors that we're going to see here, right? We've got that's an error. It's just a flat out error. There's nothing that these types of errors are going to happen. They're not anything that's terrible. They're literal ground balls that are misplayed. You get the most ground balls at shortstop. You're going to misplay balls. I'm just not worried about these plays. There's literally 5 of them, right? That tells you what we're about ready to get into, if anything, right? But there's 5 of them that are just outright errors. Jeremy Pena running, a little bit of a hurry. This one was a pretty clear one, right? Jeremy Pena's running. He's going to his right. He's in between a backhand or maybe not backhand because he kind of got there. So now he's going to try to banana it. It's a little bit out of his reach to do that. Maybe the backhand was the better call. This is a cross up. You're in between things. You're going to make that error sometimes. You know what I mean? Yep. So I'm just not worried about it.
Just plant the foot and backhand it.
Plant the foot, backhand it, fired across the infield. Those are 5 errors that are just errors. And I'm not worried about them. They're flat out just errors. They're going to happen. The next 4 are not okay. This is what I kind of call my poor effort plays, right? There's one of those bad routes by Brian Reynolds, by the way. And then just doesn't get the ball and makes Sawinski throw it in. But this is a play right here. He takes the play off completely. That's a terrible play. The first thing I'm looking at here, why are you catching that ball?
So I will say this. He's probably catching that ball because the Pirates said, you take every cut.
Yeah, but the throw's not to him. I get what you're saying, but this is a double cut here.
Right. But I'm not saying he's right. I'm just in his head. I got to get everything. I got to cut everything. I got to do everything I can to cut the ball.
Okay, so that's exactly why this is a play that's a problem. Because he doesn't need to do that. Triolo's probably calling for that. He should be calling for that. This is a double cut. This is clearly Triolo's ball. Yep. And then what happens in the process is he drops the ball. It goes down behind him, if you can see that there. Mm-hmm. And Triolo's like, you got to get the ball. You got a guy on second base. You can see him there at the corner of the screen. He's on second base. And then Oneil, look at that look right there.
Yeah.
He's not going after that ball at all until he sees the runner going to third. So the error, first off, never had to happen because Triolo should have caught that ball.
Right.
I think if Cruz catches that ball clean, he probably tries to throw home, even though there was no play there either.
Right.
And I believe that because of some of the other things that we're about to see. But this is completely that's a poor effort play. Just not going after the ball once you drop it. You've given him third base at this point. And even if he makes that play a little bit close, right, because of his arm, he also one-hopped it, which, by the way, I will say this and you'll hear me say it. One-hops are always better than throwing it all the way on a fly. They're always better. They're easier to field. They're easier to put the tag down. One-hops are the preferred way, at least from the outfield. You always want to one-hop the ball. You do not want to try to throw it in the air. More errors happen when you do that. That's the way I was taught. I was taught to one-hop everything. Plus it's lower and they can cut it if they want.
It's not easier to catch. It's always easier to catch a ball that hasn't hit the ground. I disagree with you on that point.
Oh, I actually don't think so either. Now granted, I've only made plays in the infield at slow pitch softball because baseball, I played the outfield, right? But right. All of my infielders preferred the one hop unless it takes a bad hop. But if you're playing on these fields, there's no such thing.
Right.
On these dirt infields. That's a perfect throw right there.
Yes. And it cuts down on overthrows.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, he at this point doesn't even have to make that throw. Here's another one where we're just going up the middle and it's just took a play off. Just completely took a play off. Doesn't look it in. Just absolutely misses, right?
Yeah, that's a Sunday hop too.
Yeah, an easy play that he took off. Here's another one. Watch this. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Just not in his head right here. He's going to field an easy ground ball, and instead of stepping and throwing, he's just going to fling it. Now, is that different than maybe some of the other ones that we're going to see here in a little bit, where he takes 2 crow hops? Same exact play right here. Just flings it. Okay, not as egregious, but still throws it away. Just no need to. To me, that's just taking a play off. He had plenty of time. It's Jeremy Pena again, by the way. And here's the last one. Ball caroms off. G1 Bay is going to get a nice little bounce to him. Throws a second. What are you doing? Yeah. He's standing on first base. Here's where I say he takes a play off. He just whiffs. So the first thing is don't throw it to first. There's no reason to do that. But then once you throw it away, clean it up because look how out he is at second base right here. Look at that.
Yeah.
And he just whiffs on it. If you just clean up the play at the end, then we can get by the throw that should have never been made.
Right.
Right? So these are the 4 plays that I say absolutely cannot happen, and that comes with time. Right?
Yeah.
That's going to come with maturity. That's going to come with time. You just can't do those things. So what I'm making a case to say right here is let's take those 4 out. He still has 5 errors on the season. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk pop-ups. This first one, probably not the outfielder's ball. You can kind of tell at the beginning of this play that Jack was playing very deep, and this is just another error. You could put this under the errors rather than, you know what I mean? But it's a pop-up, so I put it in with the pop-up. So let's give him 6 errors on the season. This one here, why are you calling Swinsky off? Swinsky has to get that ball. I'll blame a little bit on Swinsky not taking charge, but also you're calling him off, and then you can't make the play. You can't call off an outfielder, period, on a fly ball like that.
Right.
He's going to do it again. This one is the one that everybody remembers. This is the 2-error play. He's going to go out into right field and just take a ball away from Brian. I just don't understand this one at all. No. It's just not your ball. It was never your ball. The guy's already safe at home, and you threw it home anyway. You throw it back against the backstop. Now a guy gets third base. It's absolutely like the whole play is a mess up. And it comes from throwing the one earlier away, and he was trying to make up for it.
Yeah.
Bad throw, bad everything, right? So that's your pop-ups. Now we're going to look at some times where it's like, hey, put the ball in your pocket, man. You don't need to throw it. Okay? This is Corbin Carroll, and look where he's at. Why are you throwing that? Now, I also think that Ke'Bryan Hayes probably takes it a little bit too easy on this play and maybe could have thrown him out at home. I think that he just assumes. You look how he's kind of like, oh, I'll get it, and then he has to make his throw. This is one here where I'm going to give you a little bit of a pass, just a little bit. There is no play. He's safe at first. Okay? This is the double play that gets thrown to him and he throws to first. The thing is it's a 1-run game. There's 1 out. That's important because you've got bases loaded. There's 1 out. If you get this double play, the game is over. But he's not going to get this double play. He's safe at first. Let it be a tie game. Right there. He's safe. Let it be a tie game, and instead they take the lead on it. So that's just like a couple plays where it's just don't throw the ball even.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I don't agree with you on that one. I think there was, I don't think he was automatically safe. I think you got it. If you have an arm like Cruz's, you have to throw that ball to first because, like you said, if you get that out, that's the ball game.
Right. And that's what I said. Because of the scenario, I'm giving him a little pass on that one. I'm talking about like as a whole, though. There are times he throws the ball when he doesn't have to. These ones, waiting back on a chopper, has to rush his throw. Right? He could have come up and scooped that and made a different play, gotten closer to first, whatever. You're just kind of, you know what I mean? It's just that here's one that kind of beats him. But look how he takes his time and then feels like he has to rush. And he's throwing it away, right? Because he's rushing his throw because of what happened the rest of the play. Here's another one. You know what I'm saying? Like, and these are errors. They're throwing errors. Maybe you put them under the error section. Maybe some of these, maybe not others. But they're kind of the thing where you're taking a lot of time and then you're making your throw. Here's another one here. What? You know what I mean? Like, okay, so maybe a little bit off balance right here. But also...
Was it wet?
No.
It almost looks like he's worried about it being wet.
Is this in Houston? Maybe this is just their field is absolutely in shambles. Yeah, it is. Remember, their field was in shambles that weekend. Yeah. But either way, it's kind of like, look how safe he is. So it's almost like, you know, I don't know. I don't know what plays there, but these are just plays where it's like, oh, but he still took too many steps before going in and making the throw.
That one chopper though, to me was in that scenario. I think that was the right move to make
to stay back,
get that nice hop, and then he had himself in perfect position to catch.
Is it one too many steps though?
I didn't think so, because he had him out by a step and a half if he wouldn't have thrown it away.
Right there. So now
that's perfect. He's in perfect position right there.
Yeah, he's got 1 step, 2 steps. So he steps and then he goes behind the foot for like a crow hop type step, right? And he throws it this hard. Maybe he doesn't have to, and that's really just a pick, right? That's just a low throw that if Connor Joe picks it, we're not even playing this on our podcast today. You know what I'm saying? Now that doesn't, so it's just another error. You're going to kind of split this one in half of these types of plays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of steps to throw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was one of the things that they've talked about. It just seems like he's taking too long to get his feet set and then wanting to show off the arm all the time, right? So this one again, different. I mean, I guess the ump might be in his way right there a little bit too, but look at him trying to get away. So I mean, maybe there's something there too. I don't think so though. But either way, it's just another one of those plays that it's just kind of different. All right, let's keep going here. We've got the Luis Ortiz. You could put this under taking a play off a little bit. He's looking at first base to see if he's got to play at first, right? So there's a little bit of that. This is not a good throw. This is not a good throw from Ortiz. He's 6'7". He's reaching up over his head for that. So it's a little bit like if you just throw that to his chest, these guys are going to catch it. But he kind of took this play off a little bit. Yeah. Right? He kind of took this play off a little bit. Bad throw, whatever. You can kind of maybe give him a pass. Here's another one right here on a double play. Drops the ball. We saw this how many times this year, Jake? We've talked about it a lot. It's a little bit in a bad spot of his glove. He didn't catch it in the palm. He caught it out on the fingers a little bit. And so when he reached in for it, it kind of goes over top of his right hand instead of getting into the glove. You at shortstop, at second base, which you also played, right? Mm-hmm. When you're turning a double play, you do not catch the ball.
Not really.
You never catch the ball. You let it go in and you keep your glove open so that you can get it out and throw it. They've got to fix this at second base. There was one with Triolo earlier this year that was really bad. This one, a little bit up in the fingers. I can understand this one, right? He's 6'7". He uses a giant glove for the infield. I mean, it's not giant. He uses like a bigger glove. He used to use a 12-inch. I think now he's using an 11.75, which is a big glove for the infield, but he's also a big dude, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But either way, the one from Trillo, and there was 2 that happened against the Pirates this year that I think that's got to be a transfer. You've got to call him out at second. That's a transfer play. Shortstops don't catch the ball. You can't make them catch the ball now just so if they drop it on the transfer, you're going to stop getting double plays. What are we doing here? It's a transfer play for me. I don't think that should be an error. I think that's a transfer play. He should be out, which they called him out. And then it was overruled by a challenge, which is a problem. All right, so we've got another double. What do we got here? Okay, so these 2 here, I don't think these are errors. This goes back to that catcher situation that I talked about. Probably shouldn't have thrown that ball. He was probably going to be safe, but you have Oneil Cruz's arm.
Right.
You want to take a shot at that, and it goes away. But I got to tell you, man, Yasmani Grandal, what are you doing? This is not a terrible throw. If he's already safe, look at the position our catcher is in right now. You've got to get down on your knees and block that like a curveball. Absolutely terrible play from the catcher. And the only reason it's an error is because that guy standing on second goes to third. Catch the ball. Catch the ball. That's terrible. You completely whiffed on it.
Yeah.
Get in front of the ball.
Yeah. Don't give me that Olay bull crap.
We got the same thing happening right here. We've got to throw in. We've got to play at the plate. And we've got Yasmani Grandal just swinging his glove around. Catch the ball first. He's out, maybe. Probably not. He has to reach all the way across. He's probably safe. Worth it to throw there, though.
Yeah.
Worth it to throw. Once again, you have Oneil Cruz's arm.
Right.
The tag's going to be really late. But if the ball doesn't go to the backstop, that's not an error. Right?
Right.
So we just looked at all 23 errors that he made, 23 plays, because the 2 on the 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could be at 15, 12 errors on the season. If he cuts out the plays that he takes off, the 2 errors at the end that shouldn't have been his errors. They should have just been blocked by the catcher. And then a transfer play. There was a couple of those plays where he just rushes. If you fix those things and he continues to work on shortstop, remember, he's barely over a full season in the majors. You fix those things. He's 5th, 6th in the league in errors. How does that change? How does that change your outlook on all of them?
I mean, we've been talking about this all year, specifically you and I, and it doesn't really change my outlook all that much because that's why I was kind of like, didn't know that I think he can be a good center fielder. I just don't know if now is the time. And I mainly because like, I don't think IKF is going to cut it at shortstop.
All right, like, let's look at this.
It's the opposite. It's the opposite of Cruz.
We're talking about catchers right now, right? We've got a play here. We just watched Cruz throw almost the same exact throw. Okay? Now you've got IKF getting this relay. Do you see at the bottom of the screen where this guy is?
Mm-hmm.
He's out by a mile.
Yeah.
Watch this throw. He's still on time. He has the arm to make that throw, but that was significantly different than the throws that Oneil Cruz was throwing in there. But once again, we have a catcher completely whiffing. Why do we have this?
Who is this one?
This might be Davis. This might be. That's all of them, dude. They all miss them. Bart has them too. Now, I don't think they called this an error. I think that PCA was running third anyway. So, you know what I mean? Not a big deal. But I got to ask you this one, just because. Here you go. Bases loaded. 2 outs in the 9th. We're still up by 1.
2 outs in the 9th. 0-1. Ground ball under the glove of the shortstop, kiner-falefa. In to score Vasquez. Swanson touches home, and the
that's a hard hit. He deserves to blow that save. We're not gonna go down that path. The point is that's an error if Oneil Cruz is out there. If that same exact play happened with Oneil Cruz out there, guaranteed they mark it an error. Instead, it was marked base hit, 2 RBIs. Guaranteed error if that's Oneil Cruz. We actually watched a couple of those at the beginning of that first video that they just ruled errors.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. I'm just saying, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa a lot. I don't think he's an everyday shortstop.
Here's the first play. Second pitch of the game. First play for Oneil Cruz at center field. Cuts the ball off. He's fine. Does fine there. Here's his first fly ball. It's fine. Everything's fine. We've got a fly ball to center field. He handles the fly ball. I think that there's some pretty good optimism. Here's his first throw. I said PCA. I think this one's I don't think that was who was running on that one. 103 miles an hour. Why aren't we catching that ball, though? Why? Right. Grandal, catch the ball. That's also not an error.
You have one job.
You have one job. You're literally, your position name is catcher. If you can do anything, it's catch. And we're letting this ball get by us here. That's not a bad throw. Actually, has a chance to get him out.
Maybe if he wasn't trying to block the plate, just catch the ball instead of trying to stick your leg out.
Yeah, I mean,
because you're not allowed to do that anymore anyway.
You're right. Actually, when you look at this, that call's getting overturned even if he catches the ball and puts the tag on it. It's getting overturned. The point is, though, is catch the ball, because even if he catches the ball and he puts the tag on, there's a guy on second, not on third.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right.
And it technically, another growing thing, like that's second inning. Just get the ball to second.
I thought about that too. I don't mind him throwing that particular throw. I don't know if I want him making that throw like in June next year, but I think for right now, he's got to understand.
Yeah.
He's got to make those throws and say, what can I actually get out and what is worth throwing? It's a 1-1 game, second inning. There's only one out. If you can keep, the thing is if you can keep PCA at first, is he not just going to steal second and third anyway? But you're not thinking that, right? In the moment, can I get him out or not?
Yeah.
Is the question. If that was PCA running home, I'd say, no, don't throw it. He's safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The guy flies.
Yeah.
But in this case, I don't mind him throwing it. I don't mind him taking a shot to try to get an out there, to see how good his arm plays. I think he's going to be fine in center field, but I'm not so sure he wouldn't have been fine at shortstop.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with it. Like, whatever, we made the move, we made the call.
Yeah, it was inevitable at some point.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this then. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead with that thought.
I just don't know what we do at shortstop, because you just basically gave the keys to kiner-falefa, and it's like,
yeah,
I don't think he has the arm for the position. I seen a play where we had to challenge to get the overturned because he didn't get the ball there quick enough.
Yeah, I can see that, but if you can make most of the plays and you can be fundamental, and there's a lot of things there that I don't mind, but here's the problem that I have. IKF was going into the season next year. He was going to be the guy that played third, short, second, fills in for those infielders. He's going to be in the lineup when somebody goes down. He's got your job. You know what I mean? Like, we have a guy set up for that, and we can have Triolo in AAA. And now all of a sudden, by giving IKF this position, now Triolo's just got a job still. He hasn't earned that.
Yeah, I kind of looked at, I was talking to our mom earlier, and I was like, I was hoping that, kiner-falefa would be the guy that would be like a Josh Harrison type. You're going to play a lot.
Yeah.
But you don't have a spot.
Yeah. Your spot is playing everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would have loved him for that role. And he'd take his days at short. I'm fine with him taking his days at short.
Yeah. And depending on what happens.
Him as an everyday shortstop.
Yeah. And it depends on what happens with McCutchen too. You give Oneil Cruz a lot of opportunities to DH and put him at shortstop. You give Ke'Bryan Hayes opportunities. I mean, bear with me, guys. I understand what's going on, and I'm going to say this next sentence, and I want you to be patient with me. But you're giving Ke'Bryan Hayes some days to DH. Let's just pretend he ends up being an okay hitter. Let's just not.
Burn him at the stake.
Let's not. Let's say this. You give Ke'Bryan Hayes days off to keep his back healthy, and IKF can go into those things and help out there. Mike says, I wish IKF inherited Ralph's power. That's what we could truly use on this team. I agree, man. 100%. We need some more power. That's why I'm really hoping Jack Sawinski works out. But Jake, here's my problem with this whole thing. We're approaching an off season where this team, with or without this collapse that we're seeing right now, they have significant holes to fill. Not like a lot of holes, but significant holes to fill in order for this team to be where they're supposed to be in the first year. I know you guys are saying year five, but in the first year that they're supposed to be in the postseason. The rebuild was always going to go to 2025. I've been saying it since we started a podcast. So the thing is this is the off season. You saved your money this year. Right? You saved your money. You're going to have money to spend. You've got an unbelievable pitching staff that you're bringing in that doesn't have to get paid. Starting staff.
Yeah.
We're not so sure about the bullpen anymore. The idea is, Jake, that you were going to go out in this offseason and you were going to get a first baseman, whether you believe that's Rowdy or somebody else. You were going to get a first baseman and you were going to get a center fielder and one that can help offensively. You know what I'm saying? Like those were two holes that you could have filled and left everything else the same. And if you got the right players, and I don't think that you have to go free agency for that center fielder. You could have go the trade route if you needed to, but you were supposed to fill center field and first base with impact bats and good players. And now what have they done, Jake? They've made it easier because now they have a center fielder and a shortstop.
Yeah.
To me, that's the bullcrap piece of this that I don't like, is that they've now said, well, now all we need is a first baseman. I've got so much more expectations out of that first baseman now. If you would have picked up a center fielder and Rowdy Tellez at first, I'd have been like, all right, I'm down for Rowdy for another year. He kind of proved his way in a little bit. I'm kind of down to see if that works out again. Now I can't. You've got to have bona fide stud. Mike here says, go get Christian Walker to play first base. That's what we need. I'm not sure. I think we need better.
Yeah.
Christian Walker is going to be great defensively, but I don't think he's been that good offensively this year. And you need a slugger to hit fourth and play first base because those are two things that you need. And Christian Walker's a right-handed hitter too. It has to be a lefty.
Here he goes again.
It has to be. You're at PNC Park. You go get Rhys Hoskins, who I was saying last year. You go get Rhys Hoskins, and he just has less home runs here.
Yeah.
But outside of Pete Alonso, the right-handed hitters that you're going to get are not going to be powerful enough.
Right.
So go get Pete Alonso. That's basically what I'm saying. I don't even like him. Go get Pete Alonso, and that's who you have to get to play first base for this team.
254, 23 homers, by the way, for Walker.
In Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Which
he
means
comes here.
He hits. Go ahead.
I'm saying probably his batting average probably doesn't change much. Probably 250 with like 15.
Yeah. 15 to 18 home runs here. That's not going to get it done.
No.
I want a guy who finishes this year 30 plus, no ifs, ands, or buts around it.
Yeah.
Because you're only adding one bat to this lineup.
Yeah.
You're still relying on Nick Gonzalez to come through. You're still relying on Key Brian Hayes to have a healthy back and be even league average. You're still relying on Oneil Cruz to unlock it. Brian Reynolds to be as good as he is. You've got a platoon happening in right field right now between Brian De La Cruz and Jack Sawinski going into next year. Like I said, being hopeful there. If you could run that platoon out there, you could feel pretty good about that platoon in right field. But like as a whole, Jake, you got to be able to add a couple bats to this. You can't just add one first baseman and say, I think we're pretty good here.
Yeah.
I mean, they've let themselves off the hook here.
If I can, for my money, I'm trying to get I'm still trying to fill first base and shortstop. And at that point, you're sliding.
Oh, but IKF makes $7.5 million, Jake.
Which is not a lot of money.
Oh, but they're going to say.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's time to buck up. Not that I'm asking you to spend $200 million, but we need to be north of 100 next year.
And they will be, but we'll see how they do it. Mike, I agree with you. I would be excited about Christian Walker being added to this team. I do like Christian Walker. He is a good first baseman. He will give us, somewhat of what we're looking for. What I'm saying is by moving Cruz and having one position become two with IKF and Cruz, you can only add one bat, and you can't add 30 homers by getting Christian Walker. You've got to add Christian Walker and someone else. And if they can't do that, I don't know. It's not going to happen from the catcher position. I think they like Joey Bart. I think they're going to go with Bart and Davis. And it would be kind of hard to disagree with that. I mean, Davis has to obviously show up a little bit.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting what they do with Endy.
Yeah. But he's not going to be any kind of power situation either. If they end up with one of these guys at first base, it's just a cop out, man. It is a cop out. There's no path to improve this team except for depth. Like, you're going to go out and you're going to sign somebody to take Triolo's spot. You're going to sign somebody to be a backup outfielder or a position. I mean, like, what are you just going to rebuild the bullpen in the offseason? I just feel like it's a major cop out right now because you've just taken away an opportunity to make the team better by signing a center fielder or trading for a center fielder. And instead, you've made this move, and now you're just one less. You're one less position to fill, and you know that's how they're going to spin it. You know they're going to say, we've already got IKF at short. We don't need a shortstop. We've already got Oneil Cruz. We've already got Brian Reynolds. And Key Brian Hayes is signed. They got Key Brian Hayes. And if Key Brian Hayes' back isn't bothering him all year, maybe there's something there. All he has to give you is league average. And you know the back has affected the defense too. But we're not even going down the path of saying how many players on this team have had bad years. You know what I mean? So just to say, like, if they just go back to normal or have fine years, this team is better. You know what I'm saying?
And that happens to every team year to year. You just don't know what's going to happen. That's why you play 162. Some guys have bad years. Some guys get hurt. Some guys play hurt, which causes them not to have as good of a year. Like, it happens all over the league too. Like, let's sorry I refer to these guys a lot, but they're top of the league. Atlanta Braves, they stink right now. they get injury. Matt Olson wasn't Matt Olson. Austin Riley wasn't Austin Riley this year. It's just they had a lot of stuff going on that caused them to fall out of the wild card there for a minute. They were way up in the wild card. They were winning their division. All of a sudden they go and collapse.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is they're usually good. So the fans are like, it was a bad year. So-and-so didn't play as well. We had a couple injuries. It stinks. The Pirates can't afford to do that.
Right.
We're in a rebuild.
Right.
We're looking to get better each year. And it just sucks.
Yeah.
Because you're like, man, this was supposed to be a stepping stone forward. We had all these injuries that can happen to any team at any time. It just makes it feel worse because we were expecting more and things like this happen.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine if you go into next year and you have, Hayes missing time and Gonzalez missing time and all that stuff, and you've got IKF to just plug in?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we'll be okay. We got a guy. We can bring up somebody to be the backup. You feel good about that. You feel like you've got a little bit of depth there to where you're going to be okay. Yeah. And I just think this is a major cop-out. And maybe I'm the only one that thinks this. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know
if it's I don't know if it's a cop-out as long as they're I think the cop-out isn't moving Cruz to center and saying we got a center fielder. The cop-out is saying we got a shortstop.
Yeah.
Because I'm okay. You just gave us a center fielder that's going to hit you 30 home runs. Because, I mean, let's face it. Oneil Cruz is figuring this thing out.
Oh,
two hits a game at least. 2 hits a game, even if they're not hits. 2 balls that he makes contact with a game are over 100-mile-an-hour exit velocity.
Yeah.
Almost every game.
And you hope
doesn't matter righty lefty.
Yeah, and you hope that the defense stuff doesn't get in the way.
I mean, so far he's just continuing to rake.
Right. But we haven't seen a lot of mistakes yet.
Right. I guess I still want to see that. I'm not want to. I mean, it's going to happen, right? I'm waiting to see that moment where he just tracks a ball down, lays out, or just tracks a ball down in general, gets to a ball that's just like, seriously, he got to that, runs into the notch to catch a ball or something. Like you stated, robs a home run over that huge fence in center field.
Yeah. I mean, I just saw something the other day that in the last 3 years or something like that, Aaron Judge has not only hit the most home runs of any player in baseball, but he's also robbed the most home runs of any player in baseball. And it's like, yeah, that's a huge advantage
Yeah.
to have that
I bet.
height.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to watch. I do believe in him to be a good center fielder. I do. I'm just not sure if now was the time for this team. I understand the errors were there, but we just pointed out in this show that I think that those errors with maturity, they start to go away. It's not a problem.
I think you could easily clean up at least 6.
Yeah. At least 4 of them were just poor effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 of them. 2 more. I mean, I've got a bunch listed here. That's just get your footwork right.
Yeah.
Just be better. You know what I mean? And a lot of this is compiled since the middle of July.
Right.
It was like he was doing really well. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? This is a good one for you. Mike says that the Pirates have only had 2 first basemen in the history of their franchise to have 30 home runs and 100 RBIs.
Cool.
Thompson in 82, Bell in 19. First base has been a problem forever.
Yeah. Fix it. No better time than the present.
Yeah.
History's history. It's great to know. Fix it. I mean, change it. Whatever you want to say. Like, okay. Look at it and learn from it.
Bell in 19 had 100 RBIs, huh? I mean, that was a bad second half.
Yeah, bouncy ball year.
It was the bouncy ball year, but that's not the point. I'm still surprised that he drove in 100. He did 116. 37 homers. I'm pretty sure he had like almost 30 in the first half.
Like 27 or something like that in the first half.
Oh, we got those numbers, Jake. We got those numbers.
No
First
doubt.
half, 27 homers, 84 RBIs in the first half. It's not surprising. 55 games after that, he had 10 homers and 32 RBIs. Huh?
Talk about a collapse.
Bad. But that who cares? He still put up 100 RBIs in the season,
Yeah,
so
right.
it's the only other, you know what I mean?
Right.
Good nugget there, Mike. But it's all right, man. Oneil Cruz is a center fielder.
We just wait and watch now.
We wait and watch. Like I said, it was inevitable. I don't know after that. Like I think maybe it was early. I think he still could have been an impact, and I think it would have been better for the team had we been able to acquire a center fielder.
It's just a middle ground. Like, you say too early, but they could have done it earlier in the minor leagues.
Right.
But
well, but
it's
you got to
definitely
keep
not
your
too
player
late.
engaged. He's obviously been disappointed. You got to keep your player engaged. It's better for development. I understand that. Yeah. I don't know.
It's weird timing.
I want to go back to this though. Mike, he hasn't hit 30 home runs since that year. That was 2019.
Yeah.
So he says again at Josh Bell, a free agent, maybe the only 30% home run potential guy that they'd be willing to pay for. But I mean he has 18 this year. That includes a tear that he went on when he first showed up. But 27's his best year, and that was back in 21 with Washington. Josh Bell's.
I don't want to run down that. I don't want to run down that one again.
If you're going to get Josh Bell, you have to wait till the trade deadline, then get him, because that's when he goes on his tear.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to last about 2-3 weeks, and then you can let him go. But you can get those 2-3 weeks out of him. He's going to help you win some games. But yeah, no, I always said about Josh Bell is that he wouldn't be able to catch any throw across the infield from Oneil Cruz. Well, now he won't have to.
Right.
So maybe there's a little bit more. Maybe there's like a 10% more chance. So he's got an 11% chance to sign with the team now. Yeah. I don't know. And I understand it. Like, money's going to be what money is. Like, that. Are they going to spend it? Are they going to? They've only got one player to acquire now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a free agent.
I was gonna say you can go trade route if you want. I mean, there's guys that may end up being available.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are. I'm not naming names because I haven't done any research. I'm just saying people may come available.
You've been watching these Cubs games this week. You're not looking up anything about baseball after they're over. You know what I mean? Like, you watch that game and then you say, I think if anything, it's going to be playing Super Mega Baseball where I can just tank home runs and win 15-0. You know what I mean? Like, every game.
Yeah.
It is certainly not something where I'm like, yeah, let me dig in. And be like, no, I don't want to dig in. I want to play Fall Guys. I
want to go to bed.
I'm going to go to bed. Well, that one of them was a day game. You're not going to bed after that.
All right. Bet.
All right, man, let's get out of here. This was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, for being in the chat. Always appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening what's up?
Do we know what we're doing Sunday? We're not doing anything, right?
All right. So
big softball
for the real
tournament.
ones here, big softball tournament this weekend. We're going to be in Cincinnati. Going to be playing in the tournament. Jake's going to catch up with us a little bit late because he can't be there for the whole thing this time. However, we are going to be, for the audio listeners, that's going to be a real fun sound. Because they didn't see the image. That's going to be fun.
They didn't see the thumbs down.
So anyway, this is kind of the big one that we're going down for. Really excited about it. I am going to take some mics. Light. I'm packing light, right? We're not going to have the whole video set up. I don't have a computer good enough to run this stream. So we're going to figure something out. We're going to try to do something where we can go live and then try to maybe do a little edit and have a show for Monday. I think last year we recorded early.
Yeah, last year we did it.
So, but I don't think that we're going to have a chance to do that. So we're gonna try something. I'm gonna work something up. We're gonna try to still go live on Sunday night at 9, and try to get something for you.
Hopefully it'll be something fun.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be something fun. Hopefully you get a happy Josh because I won some games and not pulled my calf again.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!